You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
And away we go. It is the Wednesday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill on the eve of the first ever TLN Nation vacation. What's up, buddy?
Things are planned. It's all happening. Yes, my man. I'm looking forward to that. Can't believe it. But first, we got a game tonight against the Colorado Avalanche.
We do, and they also play the New York Rangers coming up tomorrow night. I think we should take care of some housekeeping notes off the top here regarding the first ever TLN Nation vacation. So there'll be no Leafs Morning Take tomorrow. We're going to have the Leafs Nation After Dark on location at Love and Exile Winery and Bar with Zach Phillips. I'm sure you and I and others will jump along. We're going to watch the game together and break it down on the show and then probably hit up Broadway, let's be honest, after the game. And so we're going to get together for a special live edition Leafs Morning Take happening in the afternoon. So keep that in mind. No show tomorrow. We're going to get together on Friday, I believe 4 to 6 Central Time in that sort of zone. We'll get together for an hour and a half, and we'll be in person there at Love and Exile Winery and Bar. So look out here at the Leafs Nation 4-1 on our channel. It'll be there for you in terms of a start time, but sort of in that zone, and it should be a lot of fun, Rosie.
I am looking forward to it. The schedule's taken form. I'm one of those guys that's like, I don't need to know what we're doing until like right before we're doing it. So I'm actually wrapping my head around the schedule and our itinerary. We get to catch games and shows and a live one. It's pretty, it's a good thing I picked this weekend. Let's just say that.
B writes in, should have had an interview to air tomorrow in lieu of. Well, unfortunately, B, we do not have an interview in lieu of for tomorrow. We're going to be flying.
Not enough interviews on the show for you, B. Jesus.
I have an idea. Why don't you just tune into Leafs Nation After Dark from tonight tomorrow? Just watch it again. Or if you don't watch it tonight, watch it tomorrow. Zach's going to put on a good show, and then we're going to fly tomorrow.
You're messing with people's routines, Nick.
Yeah, no, 2 days in a row. I always love that when I see that in the chat, by the way. Like, where are these guys? Like, if we don't have a show that day, though, they're like so lost, which I kind of love. That's kind of cool.
Good. Part of people's day. I like that. Leafs Morning Take every day at 11. They get used to you, man.
They do. And I suppose it'll be Leafs Afternoon Take from Nashville coming up on Friday. So looking forward to that. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. And only fitting, by the way, that I have a bit of a flu as we get set for this trip. But I'm sure a couple of shots will fix that.
You still feeling pukey tits?
Not pukey tits. Like, I'm not Tracy Morgan for the Knicks game. Did you see that?
Yeah. What ended up coming to that, man?
It was food poisoning.
Okay. I get it.
Dude, this guy was projectile vomiting courtside.
On the court, yeah.
How do you return MSG after that?
Man. I've thrown up on a plane before and trying to hide it and the smell. Oh, God. But there's no hiding from it front and center at a National Basketball Association game. I love it.
Guy's famous, and I think the scary part about it, he was bleeding from like his nose too, and people were like, "Oh, it's Coke or something," but no, apparently it's food poisoning. So
that's what his PR team came out with. No, you never know. Feel bad for him. That shit happens. Like I said, I've been there. It's not very fun, and hopefully you're not doing it tomorrow on the plane.
No, I'm good. I rarely get, knock on wood, I rarely get to that level where I'm puking when I'm sick. Just like the sore throat, the stuffy nose. We're up against it right now. I think it was a byproduct of the previous weekend here in Toronto, but feeling a bit low. But I think getting together tomorrow will lift my spirits. You know what won't lift my spirits? According to The Athletic, Rosie, Maple Leaf season ticket prices will be increasing as much as 20% next season. So it's going to get even quieter, I think, there.
I read that, man. That's tough to swallow. Like, I understand business. I understand shareholders. I understand the big boys who, when you can make money, you make money. But when it comes to something like this, it's tough to see from the other side. You know, like I think they reference a teacher that's been in there who's just trying to hold on to his tickets for as long as he can. And I mean, a 20% jack, it's just not feasible anymore. And it's one thing if it's like, oh, we can't go to as nice of a resort this summer or this winter in Mexico, but this is like a lot of people's lives, a lot of people's passion. It's like what they do, it's their thing. And these tickets have been in people's families for generations oftentimes, and you're doing everything you can to hold on to them. And you picture going with your kids and going with your grandkids and having, something that's special, and then it gets taken away from you because they're like, yeah, we want more from it now, we want more. And you're sitting there trying to hold your tickets. And can you imagine the dickhead that comes up in your place to take them with his dress shirt about to burst at this? Oh, I hope there's caviar under the platinum seat. Oh, it's just fucking like, come on, man. Pushing the real fan out is tough. I get business again, but it's kind of a shit story because that the people that have to give them up are the people that are holding on by a thread, who really care anyway and are paying a lot of their money that's hard earned, where we get taxed out the ass in this country. Everything is so expensive nowadays. Inflation is through the roof. And the guy that has to give up his tickets is the guy that really cares and is holding on for dear life. And now it's basically impossible, which that's a bit of a piss off.
And it's kind of interesting to me. So I've been to a couple games this season. You know me, I don't really frequent as a fan. Like, I have a media pass. I've been a bunch of times, but I've been a couple times as a fan. The thing that gets me, that puts it over the top, is you show up and who knows if you pay for that ticket. If you do, you're already up against it. But then you get there. Let's say you want to pop, easy $20, at least $20. You want some food. It just becomes a ridiculous night in a hurry where you're not even thinking about what you spent on those tickets. Like, there has to be a way, a medium, maybe a couple games where people donate tickets. We have like the kids' night sometimes. Like, there has to be a way to get the real fans, quote unquote, into the building, because it's just going to get sickening and worse and worse. Like, it's a weird feel when we love this team so much and you really can't even get to the game unless you know somebody. Like, I won't lie, I don't know what it's been recently. A lot of people have reached out to me to ask if I can get tickets, and I say, no, leave me alone. It's just par for the course, I guess, when you're in media. But more specifically to lately, like the last 2 months, like I would say 5 to 10 people have reached out. And I think it just shows you the desperation. People can't afford these tickets, man.
I know it is. It is what it is. It's not like it's a 100,000 person stadium where there's all kinds of sections, and if you want to go to the game, you're probably going to the game. And there's some nosebleeds that are cheap. It's like every ticket in that city. There's only one Toronto Maple Leafs. We know what their following is, and there's only so many seats. So again, the business side of it, they want to make as much money as possible, but it's just kind of a tough look this day and age where, like I said, a teacher has had tickets for a long time and just simply can no longer afford them. I mean, groceries are out of control. You mentioned just everything is out of control. The inflation in this country is out of control, and the cost of living is out of control, and the taxes are out of control. And you try to justify holding on to the one thing in your life that is like your thing that you love, that maybe your granddad got these tickets and they've been passed down, and now you freaking can't because they juice it at 20% more. And you're like, I can't, I have to eat, man. And that's the end of that. And now you don't have it anymore. Kind of sickening, but the world we live in, dude, it's frustrating. Thanks for starting me off on the wrong foot this morning.
It brings back memories of my childhood. And I've mentioned time and time again, I love the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it was such a luxury to get to a game. Like, I remember ticket prices back in the day being exorbitant. They've just gotten worse. Like, I can't remember a time where I forked up money. I went to Ticketmaster and I bought tickets to a Leafs game. In fact, it's never happened. I've gone to other cities to watch the Leafs. I've been to a plethora of others, Buffalo specifically, even Montreal, even Ottawa. But I can't remember a time where I went to Ticketmaster and I bought tickets to watch the Leafs play in their home barn, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. And again, there has to be a way to get a turn in crowd or to get different people at select times in that building. There has to be. Like, I understand the bottom line and the bottom dollar is earning and making money, but I think we're really restricting ourselves to who gets in that building, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. If you have so many X amount of season ticket holders, they want to have access to their tickets for every game. The only thing I can
Yeah.
see is to have like packages where X amount of games, and then what games are those? Like, who's going to watch the Columbus Blue Jackets and who's going to watch Montreal come to town? Obviously, a huge difference. I don't know what the answer is. I'm no expert in that, but there's no doubt that people are would love to go more than anything else. And most people can't just physically and logistically can't
Yeah.
go. Hence why you see, man, I'm noticing maybe it correlates with the price of tickets, but I'm noticing more than I ever have watching on TV when they're on the road in towns that aren't even like Phoenix, where it's like, oh, there's a million snowbirds there. Oh, Florida,
Yeah.
it makes sense. But like random cities like Pittsburgh, where it's a louder "Go Leafs, Go" chant, and it's a louder. Seems like the home team scored when the Leafs score. It's crazy, but people are willing to travel, and it probably makes sense logistically to go to different cities and make a little tour out of it because ticket prices in Toronto are just not feasible.
That's exactly it. It puts so much perspective on how insane the prices are here, where it makes more legitimate sense to drive to Pittsburgh, buy tickets, buy a hotel than it is to just go watch one singular game, get some food, and drink some beer at the game. We got to figure this out, man. We really do. We got to have more passion, more pride in that building.
Mm. I'm getting
That's all I
heat.
got.
I'm getting heat for like the Lawton tweet where I was like, "This is a mockery how quiet it was." But you were in the bill, like I don't know.
No, dude, that was justified. We talked about this yesterday. I was in the building and I was looking everywhere. I was looking for a response. You're not going to find it on press row, but get up, man. Like this guy just came to your team. He's from nearby Oakville, wants to play for you guys, wants to get the boys going. We talked about it too, the fact that he reacted to like a bit of a shot that Greg, a guy we should hate in this fan base, to Austin Matthews, steps up, fights him, regardless of how the fight looked. Get loud.
Well, that's what I thought too. But I mean, I'm getting DMs still going, "You need to explain yourself. I was in the building and it was rocking." And I was like,
No, it
okay,
wasn't.
well, look,
No, it wasn't.
I can hear on the TV when it's rocking, and I can hear when it is dead quiet. You can hear the stick taps on the boards. You can hear the
Yeah.
ref yelling. You can hear guys talking, and it's in the middle of a center ice scrap. I was like, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be able to hear all that shit if that place is blowing up. So I don't know. And I know it can do it. I can hear it. It happens sometimes. I'm not saying it's always like that, but nonetheless, we'll move on.
It wasn't rocking. Thursday, maybe a bit when they played Florida. Saturday on and off, but certainly not when that fight took place, which bit troubling. But anyways, we move on. As you mentioned, looking forward to tonight's edition of Leafs Nation After Dark with Zach Phillips. He'll offer up a full recap here of Leafs Avalanche, which we're looking forward to. Speaking of which, one of your former teammates with the Maple Leafs, former Av as well, among other squads, John-Michael Liles, is going to drop by here in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, JM, we haven't had him on this season, I do not believe. But yeah, he's obviously keeping up with these Colorado Avalanche pretty closely as he's an analyst for them nowadays, I do believe. So we'll pick his brain a little bit about the matchup tonight and where that Avalanche team sits. They seem pretty comfortably in third in the Central there with little space on both sides of things. So maybe the pesky Maple Leafs can catch them sleeping tonight.
I won't lie, I shot a prayer last night. I texted Gabe Landeskog. I have his number for some reason. I was like, hey, you want to pop on the show? I don't know if you saw this, dude. Guys, high-stepping the whole week. Something's happening, and I know you love your LTIR. Would you be shocked, game one of the playoffs, if after 2.5 years, the captain of the Avalanche magically shows up?
Oh man, he's been on a hiatus and a half, hasn't he? You got to feel for a guy. You forget how good that bloody team is, and with the players that they've had, and who they do have with MacKinnon, with Carr. They lost Rantanen, but you forget like Landeskog. It's been that long since he's been out with that knee injury, I believe. Like God, what is this, Bobby Orr days? Like how bad did you do your knee, man? Same with Hawkenpaw. Like guys are dinging up their knees so bad. Feel like they kind of have those knees under control and they can fix you up and you won't have to miss it. But lots of setbacks. It's great to see him on the ice, regardless of who your team is and who you cheer for. He does seem like an all-around good guy, and I imagine for the people that follow the Avs pretty closely to see that guy high stepping out there. Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if game one. Oh, look who's back! Look who's back! But man, that's got to be a lot of rust. Bit of a roll of the dice. Even though he is that good, I'm sure they'd be happy to roll it.
I believe Gabe Landeskog hasn't played an NHL game since the Stanley Cup final of 2022 when the Avs won the cup.
Jeez, isn't that wild?
Yeah, it
Like
just
I saw
shows
that.
you.
What was that? 24/7. What was the last thing?
It was like
out?
some. Yeah, I saw that
Fun.
last week too. It was like some documentary, and he hinted at coming back. Like I think it's happening. I honestly do. He's on the road with the team right now, but the only thing is they can't activate him. I think they're $6 million over the cap or something like that. So
They will be with him.
no, they are right now.
How do you play?
He's not going to play until the playoffs is what I'm intimating, but he's practicing full gear with them right now with 15 games left. So
Yeah, but they can't be over the cap right now. They would be if they activated him, right?
yes, correct. Yes.
Yes. That makes sense. I know it's a friggin' it's not right. As much as I'd love to see a Gabe Landeskog get
Yeah.
back in, and it's just good for the game and for him on a personal level. Like, why are you in a salary cap era when there's no salary cap at the most important time of the year? Like, with all the lawyers. Like, I was a rep for a team. I've been to the meetings. I was kind of involved in a very small way
Yeah.
in the CBA and the NHLPA negotiations in that 2012 lockout. And it is absolutely insane how many lawyers and minds and very smart people go over all this stuff with experience and know every in and out nook and cranny of the game and the CBA. And then something this massive slips through the cracks. Like, oh, hey guys, what if a guy is on long-term IR and they load up a bunch of other guys and they're under the cap, but then on the playoffs, when there is no cap, they just activate them? Like, what? How does that happen? And multiple teams have won the Stanley Cup doing exactly that. I just don't think it's right. And I'm surprised that the NHL, NHLPA haven't gotten together and been like, let's fix this now. I don't even know if that's possible, but new CBA, I'm sure they will shut that door, as it is not right, if you ask me.
I was laughing. I had a discussion on another podcast yesterday about the NHL GM meetings. I'm like, I'd love a live cam on those meetings and what actually transpires and what takes place. Like, what is the need to be out in Florida for this? Like, we have Zoom in 2025.
Nah, those guys are old school. They like to be in
They're
person.
golfing. They're not talking about shit, is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people like to be in person. It's hard on Zoom.
Yeah.
People, you know what it's like on Zoom. It's tough to interject and have discourse back and forth, and someone's got lag, and Dickhead's got his mute button on. Oh my God, it's painful. I like to be in person too. I get it. They got the money. Get on a jet. Let's meet up in Florida. I would do the same thing.
Go meet up in like Columbus. I don't know.
Bratislava. Columbus is nice, dude. I like it.
Yeah, I know. I love Columbus. I was talking about this yesterday. Very under the radar party city back in my day. I used to hit it with some of the Jackets Ice Girls and just get after it, buddy. Great
Buffalo.
bars down there.
Buffalo's where they could go to
Yes,
take a dump.
go to Buffalo for your GM meetings. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take. Wherever you find your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Think you know hockey? Play Sobeys My NHL Picks weekly for the chance to win big prizes like a trip for 4 to this year's Stanley Cup Final. A new slate of games opens up every Thursday from now until the end of the regular season. So download the Sobeys app and start playing today for your chance to win. As you see on your screen, my picks from the past week, I went 3 for 5 after starting 0 for 2. So I got hot at the right time. I picked against the Devils, and I picked the Devils. 2 losses there, but I have been red hot ever since there. Love it.
Take a look. I always do things like that where like there's no money on it and just crush it. And then when you're betting real money, I seem to get punished. It's kind of weird, but like me and my kids still do our Tim's picks, and I just murder it. I'm like, if I pick like just 3 guys, and like I go 3 for 3 sometimes on scoring a goal, and there's dusters in the third line there or in the third row that you pick that are like stay-at-home D-mans and fourth liners, and still crushing it. I don't know. Maybe I've told myself I'm just going to bet on the 365 app exactly my Tim's picks, and I'd probably do pretty good.
Well, the thing that gets me, and probably for you too, is the volume betting. Like what happens is I get so invigorated by certain storylines that I just, throw cash and I disperse it everywhere. And then at the end of the day, you're not even making anything.
And you don't even know what you won or lost. You can't.
Yeah.
I like to have like 3 solid bets and just leave it. But inevitably, the other team will score first on a squeaker, and you've watched the first 10 minutes of the first, and Scully is absolutely on fire, and there was a 3 bounce puck off of 2 guys' skates, and you're like, that isn't right, and then you want to hedge and you want to jump back on the team. So, hey, we all get caught up in it. That's why it's fun, as long as you're betting responsibly.
Yes, very well said, sir. Bob Laws, I like your point. Tonawanda or Lackawanna for the NHL GM meetings. That's a good look. That's in Buffalo. Imagine.
And the GM meetings, what do you say there?
Yeah. I laugh. It's always in Florida, man. It's always in Florida.
Well, people that play in Buffalo and live in Buffalo, they do like it, man. It's kind of hard to pick a bad city in that country, or many cities. There's always good things.
I can find a bunch.
I'm
I could
laughing
find
though.
a
Vic
bunch.
says we get a text from Zach at 6:59 on game day, and he's got 5 guarantees that he is just
Well, it happened
massively
the other
off
day. He's
scale.
like, "Yeah, Scott Lawton. I got a beat on Scott Lawton. All I had that day, I had the Leafs and I had Bob McMahon. I jumped on Lawton, didn't hit. But that just, yeah, it's exactly what happens.
Bobby almost had one.
He scored, Bobby.
Oh yeah, he did have one.
But
He almost
Zach
had
was
2.
on Lawton.
Third line, baby. Third line buzzing. Can't break that up. I'm interested to see how they do tonight.
Well, I love Twitter, and as we get into this game against Colorado, the second meeting in the last 11 days, is there seems to be this conversation brewing on social media that Scott Lawton is the 4C, but he played 1450 last game. So what I'm seeing is 2 third lines. I don't know if you view it differently.
Well, you can call it what you want, but when you're playing 15 minutes on the fourth line, there's not much disadvantage to being there. You can roll them a little better. You can keep the momentum going a little better. I know some people want, that fourth line to be a lot more of a checking line, an energy line, and a guaranteed get it deep and chase it kind of line. But it depends who the personnel are on there. Scott Lawton, he's able to muck and grind and forecheck and bang a little bit. And then at the same time, it's like, if you have some space out there and you feel like there's plays to be made and you see seams, then go ahead and make them. And we can trust you with that. You have the skill. You've proven that. You got the pedigree. So it's nice to see. I don't really do your thing, man. Berube knows what he's feeling. You're not going to be the head coach of an NHL team without taking criticism from somewhere, especially the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm just riding the waves, seeing what we can do. Convincing win against Calgary. You got a better opponent here tonight. So we'll see if they can, that's the thing I mentioned yesterday. Like, you got to find that more often. You got to be able to access that. You can't just give us a flash of this stuff once every week and a half or 2 weeks. Let's see some consistency here. So looking forward to their start against the Avs here tonight.
So it's Joseph Woll going tonight against the Avalanche, and I
Cool.
assume it'll be Stoli tomorrow against the Rangers. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I like it. Stoli looked, Woolsey looked great there the other night, and I was curious, do you stay with them or do you switch hit? And it'll be interesting here down the stretch. I think there'll be a lot of analysis on their performances, on their numbers, on the soft ones, and really trying to dig out who's going to be the number one. I think for the majority of the season, Stoli has been that guy, but as you're seeing right now, they're very close. They could flip-flop, and they're both very good, very capable goalies who have had great seasons. So we'll see here, but I don't mind going back with Woll at all. He looked fine. They have confidence in him. I think he deserves to play another one here.
If you had to put a percentage on it right now, it just came to my head. What are the chances we see both Woll and Stollers even in the first round?
Percentage based, I think there is a 73 or 4% chance that we see both of them. Good little chance that we go with one and it just goes well and they keep them. I don't think either way, unless it's a real, like he gets the hook or something, you switch after one loss. But 7-game series, the first couple games, 3 games tick by. And if you need to make a change, you need to make a change. And the thing with this tandem is you have a capable guy right behind you. And if you need to spark something or find something, or you feel like a guy is maybe fighting it or lost his confidence or might be a little tight, hell, you'll switch it up. You'll do it. Like I said, those 7-game series, they get away from you in a hurry. So it could happen.
Thank you. That was a roundabout way of saying that. But I tend to agree, because in recent memory, teams who win the Stanley Cup, you sort of forget who starts game one of the playoffs. That's why I'm just thinking, regardless of who it is, they're going to need both these guys in the playoffs. And that's why, to that point, I don't care who starts these games. And I like the fact that they're rewarding Woll for getting the win the other night. That's good.
Yeah, we were talking to Commodore yesterday. He mentioned how everyone remembers Cam Ward there in 2006 when they won, but Gerber played a whole bunch and Ward got yanked a couple of times, I think he said, in the second round. So I would like to know the stat on how many teams have won the Stanley Cup where they only played one goaltender in the playoffs. I bet you it is few and far between.
Even like Florida last year, Stoli played a couple games. I think he came in relief at least in the Cup final. I remember that.
Yeah, in the final. Yeah, interesting. I would like to know that stat. I know back in like the Marty Brodeur days, it's probably.
I think Tampa's the only team I can think of where Vasi just plays every game. He does not sit.
Interesting. Well, we'll see, man. If I don't think you win the cup without getting a goalie that just gets hotter than a pistol at some point in time during the playoffs. And that's obviously what every team and every goaltender is looking to do right about meow.
True. And speaking of hot, Austin Matthews, can you build upon what he's done the last couple games? Scored over the weekend against Ottawa, 2 more, as mentioned the other night. And can he do it 3 in a row? Because, again, this is a measuring stick game. You know, Vic and I, producer Vic, were laughing, trying to think of a name for this show. And we're like, measuring stick game? We joke about it because it's so cliche to bring up, but it really is. I view Colorado as a perennial contender. I love what they did at the deadline. We talked about Landeskog earlier on, but to bring in Coyle, to bring in Nelson, you solidified your center ice position. Val Nichushkin, dude, has like 17 goals in like 31 games. Like his pace is insane right now. And so they're a really good team, and I view it as a barometer game for the Leafs.
Yeah, big time. Like I mentioned, you can do it against the Flames. Good. I like it. Nice to see, but you got to build on that. That's not good enough. You need a real solid team like the Avs. Come in and do it again. And, you know, I like what Chief said following the game that Pappy stood up, took control of the room, talked the talk, went out and walked the walk. I mean, people have been begging. It was almost too late. People were losing it on him in this market as they tend to turn their backs very quickly. We saw that in spades, but got the job done. And now it's time to do it against a little bit more of a worthy opponent.
Yeah, you want to talk about intense. Look at Nathan MacKinnon, man. He's got that dog every shift, every game, and that's sort of more of what we want to see from some of the star players here on the Maple Leafs. The following interview is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian-owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com as we bring in today's guest, former Toronto Maple Leaf, now does some work with the Colorado Avalanche. He's been everywhere. It is John-Michael Liles. John, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, our pleasure. And, you know, it's always fun talking about the Avalanche because you look at Nathan MacKinnon, the season he's putting together again. Dude, I love watching that guy. You must as well.
Yeah, he's really fun to watch. Shift in and shift out, and just I heard you say it, but the intensity that he brings rarely takes a shift off, and he holds everybody to a high standard within that room. And you know that's something. You know, Gabe Landeskog being out now a couple of years, it's something that room needs, and I think they've got a real good leadership group in that room when you look at him, and you've got Cale Makar and you've got Devon Toews, but Nathan MacKinnon obviously just playing at an elite level. You know, Hart Trophy last year in the conversation for sure again this year, and yeah, just a guy that you know, being a broadcaster, doing color and analysis for the Avs, it's a pleasure to be able to talk about him night in and night out for sure.
I believe it. JM, thanks for coming, bud. What you mentioned Landeskog there. What's the buzz around that? He seems to be twirling around there pretty heavy these days.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it's I think there's some cautious optimism is what I would call it. You know, and I think he's probably as anxious as anybody. It's you know, it's 2+ years since he's you know, he's played a game in the NHL and a lot of highs and lows, but you know, the video of him skating with the team earlier this week, I think was definitely positive. And, you know, it sounds like he's been on the ice regularly, not necessarily with the team, but kind of on his own and, you know, maybe a little bit more private at times just to kind of be able to do his thing and not have to deal with whether it's media or fans or just questions in general. You know, I think it wouldn't shock me if at some point come playoff time, if he gives it a go, because at some point I think that, you know, in his mind, like you do have to give it a shot, right? It just can't be, well, we'll see. I think, you know, in his mind, I think he's hopefully ramping up, and it'd be a guy that if he can get back and be effective, that would be a huge boost to an already much improved Avalanche roster when you look at what they've done from the beginning of the season to now, and especially at the trade deadline.
Well, the unique thing about Landeskog, and I should preface by saying, like, I grew up in the same era. He was playing in the OHL. I had a bunch of buddies who played with him, against him, just spoke so highly of the guy. And I think outsiders who don't know much about the Avalanche don't realize the worth that Landeskog has to this organization, to this team. We just talked about it, man. He hasn't played in, like, what, 2.5 years? But can you just to his character. I think we forget sort of at the time when he was named captain, youngest captain in NHL history. And we try to correlate that to the Maple Leafs and what we're looking for from their sort of nucleus, right?
Yeah, and listen, Gabe Landeskog is unique in the sense that not only is he the captain, and I think he commands the room just with his demeanor, and it's not a imposing by any means, or it's just how he carries himself. And I remember Brian Burke going in, and I think he was with the Leafs at the time, but when he interviewed Gabe Landeskog in that pre-draft interview, Landy walked out, and Brian Burke, I remember him commenting, saying, this guy's going to be an NHL GM someday. Just because of, and he was 17, 18 years old at the time. And he just said, he was like, he just has this presence. And not only does he have that presence and that, that locker room kind of stabilizing force, but he backs it up on the ice. He plays the game how it's meant to be played as a power forward. He's done it his entire career. And, whether that's, I'm not going to say like he's not a regular fighter, but he does fight, and he can score, and he can hit, and he can play the game any way that you want to play the game. And I think that's one of the ways that he's so valuable to the Avalanche, is not just on the ice, but off the ice, and being able to kind of have that counterbalance to, the Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar and guys like that. Is he's just this presence within the room, and everybody kind of gravitates toward him and follows him. And yeah, I mean, not every team can have that. And trying to compare, the Leafs to, if Gabe Landeskog comes back and what he brings in the Avs locker room, it's hard to go apples to apples, because not everybody is that way, right? But I just remember, and I think I was playing for Toronto at the time when Berkey interviewed him. And I remember Berkey talking about like what a tremendous guy is. And I know him now really well, and he's a good buddy, and he's just an awesome person. And the way that he carries himself, like, it's not, he never steps out of his lane of who he is. And I think that's what makes him so endearing to people.
Obviously, you're pretty up to date on the Avs. How much do you follow what's going on in Toronto with your old team and the Maple Leafs, and how do you think they'll stack up against your Avalanche tonight?
Listen, so I'm doing full-time color and analysis for the Avs now. Actually just kind of became official a couple weeks ago. So nice. My first full-time game, I do home games only for color, was against Toronto. So that was a fun one to be able to be a part of, because Toronto came in so skilled. It was the day after the trade deadline, so obviously a ton of stuff happening. But it was fun, because that was a back and forth game. There's 5 goals in the first period. Mitch Marner played unbelievable. Everything started to trickle out about everything with, the Hurricane trade and all that fun stuff. And obviously the Avs made a bunch of moves as well. But, listen, Toronto is skilled. They were right there. Like, the speed is right there. The Avs are arguably one of the fastest teams in the league, and I think Toronto was right there with them for the majority of the game. Nathan MacKinnon obviously took the game, on his stick there on the power play at the end on a Marner penalty, of course. And Marner, I think, is arguably the Leafs' most valuable penalty killer. So when we saw that happen in the third period, we're like, okay, you got to take advantage of that. And MacKinnon scores with 14 seconds left on the power play. But yeah, it's cool to see, like, Brandon Carlo is a good friend of mine, and him coming into Toronto, I think, is a great addition, because I had him in my last years, and my last year was with Boston, and that was his rookie year. And he was my D partner the entire training camp, his rookie year. And he came in, he's 6'5". He's a freak athlete. And when he stepped in, you could see, like, Don Sweeney and those guys and the coaches, they were like, oh man, this guy he's legit. And he covers so much ice. And I thought that was a great addition on the back end. I think, it'll be a fun one tonight to watch, with Toronto being the home team now versus when they were in Colorado a few weeks ago. That last change, I think, makes a huge difference, because then you can get those guys out against the MacKinnon line and, Makar and Taves a lot of times. But, the Avs, Brock Nelson's been, I think, a really nice addition on the second line. Like, hasn't lit up the score sheet yet, but he's done a lot of stuff that hasn't showed up on the score sheet. Like Nichushkin's goal against Dallas the other night, like, he's parked in front of Ottinger, just taking away his eyes. He wins the faceoff in overtime that leads to Cale Makar's goal. So there's a lot of subtleties I think that'll be in play tonight. But it's gonna be interesting to see, especially with Toronto having last change, and both teams now, those guys that they got at the deadline, getting a little bit more kind of familiar with the lineup and the systems.
You mentioned the deadline. So Lawton and Carlo come in, and you're a perfect guy to ask. You were traded to Toronto. What was that transition like? Like, how long did it take you to sort of get acclimated and get your feet on the ground there in Toronto?
I was fortunate. I got traded right before the draft. So I had the summer to kind of get acclimated. And it was, I would say, like, when I first came in, it was great. We were winning. And, it's always the case when you're winning in Toronto, things are awesome. And we lost a bunch late in the year that year, and things changed quickly. And that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. So, I texted Carlo when he got traded there, and I said, listen, you'll love Toronto. They take amazing care of the players and the families, and like, you're gonna, you focus on hockey, and it's, as long as you guys win, it's gonna be amazing. And he was appreciative and said thanks a bunch. And but yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see the deadline deals, right? And I was talking about this yesterday with somebody, but like, people are always so concerned. Do guys fit in at the deadline? How quickly can they fit in? And it's like, well, you hope they fit in really quickly, but it's a lot of times it's not like you can be a Stanley Cup champ and not make deals at the deadline. You have to find those puzzle pieces. And I think that it's a necessity to kind of plug those guys in, and you just kind of give them that time. Okay, what do you need to feel comfortable? Is it this guy as your D partner? Is it this guy on your wing? What's your thought process as you're going through the neutral zone with the puck, or 3-on-2s coming on you. So I think that it's, you hope that everybody jumps on the score sheet right away and is consistently on the score sheet. I think is the biggest hope of the guys you get at the deadline. But as long as guys are contributing and feeling comfortable, and really everybody's pulling on that rope in the same direction, I think that that's the biggest key for me for those deadline acquisitions, whether it's Toronto, Colorado, whoever.
And I think we talk about on this show a lot, the differences of playing in Toronto. You came there from Colorado, you had some time in Carolina, Boston afterwards. Can you give your insight and your experience on what it's like that's different to be on the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Oh man, it's different. I just remembered my first day of training camp. I honestly thought that like a barricade had broken when they let me. And I thought it was like fans were coming. Like, it was like Colorado. I mean, listen, Colorado's, good market. But I mean, any given day, you're 10 to 20 people in the room. And that first day of training camp was like 75 to 90 people in the room. And I was like, what is happening here? And I mean, I played in Toronto before as a visitor, but it's different. Like, day one of training camp hits different. And so it is. It's a big change. You're at the center of the hockey universe is what we always used to say. But once again, like, if you're winning, there's not a better organization, because they take care of you. They take care of your families. Like, there's nothing that you could want that they can't help with. And it's a special organization. And I mean, I was fortunate to play a few years there, and I, going from Colorado to Toronto, and then I went to Carolina, which is a completely different animal and can be super quiet at times, but a lot of people love playing there because it's just, you play hockey, and then outside of it, you kind of, it's, very family friendly, and just it's different animals. And then you go to Boston, and that place is crazy sports town. So yeah, I love Toronto. It was hard when we weren't winning, which is, you could say anywhere, but I would say it's arguably a lot harder in Toronto when you're not winning. And yeah, just going back to, I believe it was 2013, the Game 7 against the Bruins. I had the pleasure of playing on Toronto in that game, but then also playing for the Bruins a number of years later, and seeing both sides of that coin, and, Marshy and Bergie and those guys. But man, I just go back to, like, if we would have been able to pull out that game, like, it would have, just so many things would have changed.
A lot of what ifs.
Yep, exactly.
John, I had that question to ask you. I don't even, it makes me sick to my stomach to even think about that game. So we're not going to talk about it. I was going to add to Good thing I played basketball growing up. Box outs are a real thing. I'm in the scrum sometimes, man. To get position in a scrum in the Leafs room is a joke. Whereas, like, I remember 10 years ago, Shea Weber was on the Predators, and I got a media pass to a game, and I did a one-on-one with Shea Weber. Good luck trying to do a one-on-one with, like, Matthew Nyes in Toronto, man. It's like a different animal. But I wanted to ask you a bit about 2022. Obviously, the Avalanche win the Stanley Cup, and we're still waiting here in Toronto. Finally get a series victory a couple years ago. Was there a select moment or time or point in that season where it really became real for you, where you like, this team can finally get over that hump and do it?
Yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily one moment. Just looking at like the pieces that they added at the deadline. And it's funny because I was in Vail, like I live in the mountains, and Landeskog ended up having surgery up here right before the deadline. And so I was with him the night before the deadline, and we were just shooting, just throwing out names and whatnot. And like Josh Manson was the name that I threw out. And Landy's like, man, if we got Josh Manson, that would be unbelievable. He's like, because then I'm not the toughest guy on the team, and I don't have to, like, it's not like I said, he doesn't fight all the time, but like he was kind of the guy that would step in and be like, hey, like, you lay off of MacKinnon or lay off of whoever. Then they got Manson, and I just remember being like, like just like that, like just great player, super tough. They got Lehkonen. He was a tremendous addition. And you're sitting there looking at it and you're like, wow, this could be the year. And, Kemper was the starter. Francouz was a tremendous backup because he ended up having to step in for a series, ended up winning the series essentially against Edmonton, and Kemper came back for the finals. But like, I just look at it and all the things that kind of happened. And now I look at the Avs right now with Blackwood as the starter and Wedgwood as the backup, and Wedgwood's played unbelievable when Blackwood's been sick. And it's just like there's some similarities there in the additions at the deadline. The second round against St. Louis where MacKinnon went end to end in game 5 and they took the lead with 2 minutes left, and they hadn't gotten out of the second round in previous years. So they have the lead. They're going to win the series. St. Louis ties it up. And then I think it was Tyler Bozak scored, I think, in overtime maybe that year in game 5 on like a absolute muffin of a slap shot. And I texted Bozy after. I go, I don't think I've ever seen you even take a slap shot before.
Yeah.
And he was laughing. He's like, yeah, I don't really ever do that. And so St. Louis wins, and then they go into St. Louis, and Darren Helm scores, unlikeliest of guys, scores with 6 seconds left or 4 seconds left to win that game 6. Now, all of a sudden, it was like, bam, out of the second round. Now you have Edmonton third round. And it was like they just, at that point, it felt like they couldn't be stopped. And they, the Edmonton series, I think, was closer than the sweep would indicate. But like they were just, you could tell, like they were on a mission. Everybody was going in the same direction, and they were dominant most nights for the remainder of that playoffs.
Well, last one for me, JM. I just wanted to pick your brain. You mentioned the new job you got. What are some of the differences on how you see the game and what happens as a team season unfolds from being off the ice, being a color guy compared to being a player?
Oh man. Yeah. It's, a lot more, I don't know, like just like with color, it's a different cadence, right? Like I was doing, pregame, postgame, and in between period analysis kind of on my schedule. Now it's every game. So now you appreciate, like I appreciate it when I was a player. Like it's, every other day is hard, right? And it grinds you down, and especially as a player. And then now as a broadcaster, you see like just I think the subtle differences that you make within a system from the coaching staff, and the way that players kind of set up in from game to game, from like a Dallas to a Toronto or call it a Chicago to Montreal or whatever on a power play and things like that. The subtleties the subtle adjustments that you become so accustomed to as a player when you go into a meeting before every game and they lay it out for you. Okay, here's the tendencies. Here's how we're going to tweak our penalty kill and our power play. Well, now you're not in that meeting, but you see it more as a broadcaster during the play from one game to another. I think I don't want to say it's the biggest thing, but it's something that I've really kind of, I'm like, it clicks because I was in those meetings for so long. And now you see it as a broadcaster, just those subtle differences from game to game, where the team is who they are. They're fast and they're trying to move through the neutral zone. They're constantly moving in the offensive zone, but like those little subtle differences within the game, and especially power play, penalty kill, where you can kind of influence, the other team's special teams in different ways with those little subtle kind of changes.
On top of that, you get to work with the legendary Mark Mosier, who's my boy, but I still love giving it to him every day. I put out a tweet today, good morning to everybody but Mark Mosier. He is a sack of shit. He knows that, but also a really good dude with a great call. When you guys won the cup, he sent me like a bunch of guts t-shirt with Joe Sakic's autograph on it. So that must be pretty cool to work with Mosier as well, eh?
He's a great guy, and he's done so much for me. Like I've only done, I think I'm at like 5 games of color at this point in my career. And so you've got him and I usually up in the booth, and then Mark Rycroft, who's an absolute legend in his own right, down in between the benches. And so the three of us have a 3-man booth, and Moj takes great care of me. Riker's been doing it since Peter McNabb passed away, God rest his soul. And, like they have an unbelievable just cadence and relationship in the way that they kind of tell the story of the game. And I'm trying to not mess that up too much. And they've been amazing and super accommodating. It's been really, really fun.
Yeah, I'm not bullshitting. I watch a lot of hockey. My favorite broadcast is the Avs broadcast. And I'm not just saying that. You guys kill it. Appreciate your time, man, and enjoy the game tonight, okay?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jim.
Our pleasure. John-Michael Liles, former Toronto Maple Leaf. Great insight into the Gabe Landeskog, Nathan MacKinnon. But I'm not kidding. If you have a chance to go watch an Avalanche broadcast, just the passion they broadcast with, it's comparable to Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph. Like I love going down to the arena and just talking to Ralphie just about his history, what he's done in the current team. I know he's got a great analysis.
Yeah, big time. I think JM, the way he sees the game, he's very particular. I think he's very detail orientated. As he was when he played, and you can tell when he speaks that he's paying attention to a lot of different things. So that is interesting to him. He's got only 5 games under his belt doing color, and now he's their full-time man. So I might have to venture over there one day and catch up on some of that.
Dude, you would be incredible as a color analyst.
I did it on overseas when I was playing overseas. I was suspended or something, so I did some color, and it was fun. And people were like, "You should do that." I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty easy."
I could see you getting jacked up for like a fight and just losing your mind, and the clip going viral.
I would like to color commentate a scrap easily. It would be a lot of emotion. I imagine I could get myself into it if I was doing color on that. I think.
I got some connections. We got to do that. Maybe on Amazon Prime next year. We got to get you on the Prime broadcast or something, or maybe it's both of us and do a little hit on the Amazon Prime broadcast next season. In support of Sick Kids, Tammy, thank you so much for the super chat. Hope everyone going to Nashville has a safe flight/drive. Thank you, Tammy.
So people driving?
Couple people driving.
Awesome. I like that. I like
producer Vic's got 2 boys who are so cheap they're driving 12 hours. I'm kidding.
Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the fun of it, man. I haven't done that drive in particular, but I used to do the cross country twice a year, driving down wherever I was playing it. You need your stuff with you, so I ended up driving a lot of miles. It was kind of fun.
I did the drive actually in September to Nashville. As mentioned on the pod, I went to go watch Morgan Wallen in Knoxville, and me and 2 guys did the drive. The drive there is okay. You got to probably split it up. It's like 12 hours from like the Toronto area. But coming back, dude, is just the worst. Like it is the worst experience. Just think about like your worst feel of all time, how bad you felt. Times that by 10 when you get stopped at the border and they got problems with you. It's like, gee, not me specifically, but it just turned into the longest day of all time.
The border's tough. It always kind of brings some form of anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
You. I remember when I was really young, after my first year pro, I was driving home. I swung through Duluth, Minnesota, where I went to school. My brother was going to school across the bridge in Wisconsin Superior. And then I had like my truck there, my SUV, and he's like, "Oh, I got to throw some shit in the back." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." I wasn't really paying attention. I go over the border, And he's like, you got anything other than just your clothes and your equipment and that? And I'm like, no, nothing like that. Traveling pretty light. He opens the back and it's just stereo equipment and TVs and all this stuff. And I was like 20, so I was freaking out thinking that was the end of me. But luckily the guy was cool. I think I was crossing over in Saskatchewan, so I got some nice fell out in Sasky. But no, I don't know. The border gives you a little bit of anxiety when you're crossing it. We do the golf trips and stuff quite a bit the last 10, 15, 18 years. And coming back from can be very rough. The fun's over, the pain is setting in, and there's nothing to look forward to. And you got a long ass drive home. But I think some of us figured out you just throw a flat in the back of your truck and just give her all the way home and kick the can down the road a little bit.
You know what's funny is like I normally chirp guys, National Leaguers, for using the National League card. I think that's the one place I would fully endorse and embrace a National League card where it's like, yo, just I played in the National League. Show them a picture or something, Rosie. Just fly me by, man. Fly me by.
Well, you don't really have to because you have your papers that say who you're employed by and whatnot, so they see it. And I remember one guy sat there and was asking me just like a Q&A about like, what's Ovechkin like? And is he as strong as they say? All this stuff. And I'm just like, buddy, there is a big line down here. I am a pigeon. I am not the guy to ask. Wait for someone else to cross over.
I got that a couple years ago. I was going to a draft or something, and the guy had coincidentally been a listener of mine on satellite radio and just grilled me about the draft. I'm like, there's a billion people behind me. And you know, when people are starting to get antsy, man, like, it's like, just fly me by here. I don't need to worry about this. But nevertheless, looking forward to this Leafs Avalanche game. I thought this was a pretty funny quote. So Joseph Woll is going to start, but Craig Berube was asked about the key to slowing down Nathan MacKinnon. Well, I don't know. If you find out before the game, you can let me know.
Dude, that's honesty right now. I don't blame him. That guy is a beast. All anyone can try to do is try to get in his lanes, try to get in his way, and try not to let him get a step on you. Inevitably, he's going to, though. You need multiple layers there to stop that guy. So he'll be fun to watch tonight.
And the front end of the back-to-back, of course, coming out tomorrow night, visiting the New York Rangers. And do you think David Kampf gets into one of these games, Rosie?
Not really, man. I know they want to get lots going. Certainly won't replace him. I don't see him wing anywhere, and you're not breaking up that third line that's buzzing right now. So we'll see what happens, but absolutely not tonight.
And producer Vic makes a great point. You correct me if I'm wrong. Chris Tanev did not play the first time out, right? The 7-4 game. I don't believe he played in that. Yeah,
I believe he was out, and I think it's no surprise that it's not long after his return where they get some of their game back, man. I think he's an absolute anchor back there.
Well, it's if you recall in the playoffs a couple of years ago, Tanev did a pretty damn good job on Nathan MacKinnon. I love Tanev, man. Just the more and more I watch this guy, the more I interact with him as well in the room. There's just a chill to him, dude. He's just so calm, cool, and collected. And we talk often about guys who are just built to play in Toronto. Willie's among them. Every time I go in the scrum, he shows up just wearing his gitch, shirt off. Like, just let's do this.
You like that, did you?
Love it, man. I get fired up, actually. I got to wear looser pants for that day. But Tanev is just a guy, like his demeanor is perfect for this market, Rosie. I'm in love with the guy, man. He's been a great ad. Remember when they signed him, people were like, oh, that contract sucks. Well, he's been awesome.
That didn't age well, did it? No, he's got a compete level that like he does not care if there's a brick wall. He is going to put his head down, his ass up. He's going to go right bloody through it. And I think that has done very well for him. He's got his Stanley Cup already. He's got over the hump. He's had success with Hart, Tro, everything. He's probably going to Hart this year. Who knows? He's out of control good. And I think a lot of it is his compete level and refusal to do anything but lay it all on the line. And maybe some of that'll rub off on some of the Maple Leafs tonight as they need to keep this thing going after that Calgary game.
Mike Batson writes in, do you have bail money put aside for the trip? We do, in fact. Yes. Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. Wanted to clarify something as well. Was not dogging on Zach Phillips. I was just saying that the one play he was, feeling good about, which is understandable. The Lawton anytime goal is the play I played. He had some other winners. He had Matthews 2+. He was all over Matthews last game. That's the one I played, and I did not win. So just clarification, I was not dogging on our betting guru, Zach Phillips.
Glad you clarified that.
Thank you. What are you looking at tonight, Rosie? What kind of bets are we hammering here?
I'm dicking around on my app here, and I got a same game parlay here where it is at least a point for MacKinnon, Matthews, Marner, and Makar.
Ooh.
And that is very spicy. A 4-leg parlay. I don't do that very often, but those guys are kind of beasts, and I think they'll all show up tonight.
Over under 59.5 minutes after landing that Alberga and Rosehill have some alcohol in their system via Zach Phillips. I will take the under.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna try to keep the Booze has been giving me the scaries lately. I don't like it. I'm getting old. It's not fun. So little Zachy boy with his little 20-year-old heart's gonna be buzzing around out there. How old is Zach anyways?
25.
Oh my god, what a little baby.
It's a little guppy, man.
I'll have to Houdini a couple nights. I don't think I can hang with the 25s anymore, but we will see. Stranger things have happened.
It's kind of shitty now that I'm in my mid-30s. You're obviously in your 30s, and I tell like people in their 20s, like, hey, just wait for these hangovers, dude. They hit differently. They will put you out of commission for multiple days. That being said, I do seem to have longevity when it comes to trips. I go to Europe quite a bit in the summer. Every summer, and then like I go on these like hockey trips, and I can get after it multiple days in a row. Like here's hoping I got something cooking on this trip.
Just staying out of troubles. All you got to do, be nice and friendly. The people down in Tennessee are incredibly friendly, and I think they like us Canadian folks. So all things should be just fine down there.
Yeah, we'll have a good time. As for the bet, I'm going to bet on the Leafs. I got them at even money last night, so I'm going to play the Leafs. I just got to ride with the momentum of what I said on Monday prior to the first game of the week, where I said the Leafs will win at least 3 of 4 this week. I'm just putting this out there because you know how much I hate the Montreal Canadiens. I'm fine with the Leafs losing to the Rangers tomorrow. I can't live in a world. I know Zach hates the Ottawa Senators. I hate the Montreal Canadiens with a passion, even though I was born there. I do not want to see them make the playoffs. The Leafs have the Rangers tomorrow. Win this game, lose tomorrow. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
All right, we will see. They better win when we're in person against those dirty Preds, though. That would be ideal. I'd like to see that.
All I'll say is do not throw a beer. Anybody coming on this trip, don't throw a beer. The reason why I bring that up, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I went on a Leafs trip with about 40 people. One of my buddies threw a beer. He got arrested for throwing a beer.
Rightfully so, doughhead.
And just to wrap, thank you to John-Michael Liles. And also, if you're looking for our show tomorrow, you're not going to find it. We are traveling tomorrow, so Leafs Morning Take will return Friday afternoon. Make note of that, Friday afternoon. So again, if you tune into our normal time slot at 11 a.m., we are not going to be there. We're going to be hung titty somewhere in Nashville, very likely. But Friday afternoon, we're going to put it up. We're going to schedule it probably between, I believe, so it's 4 and 6 Central, 5 to 7 Eastern time. We're going to put together a show live on location. So make sure you keep it locked at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Don't forget as well to visit theleafsnation.com. Any final words, Rosie, before we head off to Nashville here?
No, let's get a W here against the Avs first, and away we go. Looking forward to it. See everybody there. Stay tuned. Check in on us if you're not on the trip, and it'll probably entice you to come next year. See you there.
Now we go. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.